In this video, we're going to play the same shot but with 9 different contact points on the cue ball, so really interesting stuff to come. And we're starting with a center ball hit to have a reference line with no spin whatsoever. And very important, I'm always going to use the same speed, because a different speed would not only change the distance the cue ball travels, but also the path. Look how it differs, for example, if I play the same shot, but much softer. So this is our reference shot and speed with no spin on the cue ball. What do you think happens if we're using a follow shot now? Well, the contact point on the first rail changes because the forwards rotation makes the cue ball curve off the tangent line. This means the cue ball is hitting the rail at a different angle now. And because of that, the contact point on the second rail changes quite a lot. Now let's use high and right spin. How will this affect the path? What do you think? Well, the contact point on the first rail stays around the same because we're still using follow, but the contact point on the second rail changes quite a lot, and this is because the right spin will grab on the rail and change the outgoing angle. Surprisingly, it's very similar to the no spin shot. If we overlay the no spin and high right one, it becomes very obvious. So remember, a center ball hit and a high right hit, which is also called outside spin here, will very often lead to an identical path. Interesting question, what will happen to the path if we're using just right spin now? Well, the contact point on the first rail is now similar to the center ball hit because we're not using any follow, but the contact point on the second rail is really different. And of course, this changes the third rail contact really a lot, but why is that? It's because compared to the high right, the cue ball now comes from a different angle once again. And when we're adding spin at the horizontal center of the cue ball, we can add the most amount of spin. This is why now the right spin changes the cue ball's bounce off the first rail a lot more compared to the high right shot. What will happen with low and right spin now? Well, the cue ball doesn't deviate forwards of the tangent line, but to the other direction because we're drawing the cue ball, and this changes the contact point on the first rail really a lot, and therefore the contact point on the other two rails even more. But what will happen if we just use low and no spin? How will the path change? Well, first of all, without the spin we can add more low to the cue ball, and this changes the contact point on the first rail. It's almost the same principle as before, where we could add more spin without high or low. Here we just can add more follow or draw without the spin. And interestingly, the cue ball gets some natural spin from the object ball and the rails. This is why low and low right are very similar once again. But as I mentioned, this changes with the table conditions. Watch till the very end of this video to see how a different table will change this. Now it's getting even more interesting. What will happen with low and left spin, which is called inside spin here? The contact point on the first two rails differs really a lot, but the contact point on the third rail is pretty much the same. Isn't it interesting that different spin and even a different path can converge at the same spot? Just keep in mind, the spin makes the cue ball slow down here. But will just left spin make a bigger difference then? Yes, it will, because remember, the cue ball will curve forward of the tangent line. This means the incoming angle is different, which makes the spin not only grab better on the rail, but we can also apply more spin anyways, because remember, we're at the horizontal center again. Final question, which path will the cue ball take if we're using high and left spin now? Well, obviously we can add less spin now, but the high on the cue ball will make the cue ball go forwards from the tangent line even more, which results in a different incoming angle. And therefore the spin is more effective and the outgoing line will also be very different. So remember, different spin on the cue ball can lead to very similar results. I just want you to keep in mind that table conditions play a huge role in the cue ball's behavior. In this video I'm playing the exact same shot you just saw, but on a different table, so definitely watch this one as well to see how much the table will change the behavior.